Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's very intentional. We are not covering section 5.2 in Math 1033, so don't think you've lost the notes or anything. We intentionally go on into section 5.3, and section 5.3, for the most part, is a review. Section 5.3 starts off with factoring polynomials. So let's say you took the expression, it's not an equation, by the way, it's an expression, 24m squared n cubed minus 36 m cubed n squared, and I asked you to factor it completely. Factoring means to write something as a multiplication problem. So that's just basically what it means. Right now it's a subtraction problem. I want to turn it into a multiplication. So what we look for here, make your brains go back in time. Your previous course that you've had taught you how to factor. The first thing you were taught to find was the GCF, and that stands for greatest common factor. So what you're really looking for in English is the largest thing that you can pull out of both terms here. And the largest thing we can pull out of 24 and 36 is 12. Out of an m squared and an m cubed, we can take out an m squared. You always take out as much as you can, but you can't take out the highest power because that won't come out of the one with the lower number in it. And likewise, you're going to pull out an n squared. So 12m squared n squared is our GCF. I put parens to indicate multiplication, and then I put a 2n in front because the GCF times 2n would give me back the front, and I put a minus 3m in the back because if I multiplied the GCF by that, it would give me back the back. Okay, so you can always check to see if you've done it correctly. Oh wait, little too far. Let me go back up. Sorry about that. Okay, let me scroll down a little bit. There we go, slower. Okay, we have the opposite of 8z to the 5th minus 24z to the 4th. If I want to factor that, here's one rule of factoring you need to remember. If an expression starts with a negative, then your GCF has to start with a negative. Okay, one more time. If your leading term starts with a negative, your greatest common factor has to have a negative in it. And in this case, what we pull out of the 8 and the 24 would be an 8. Out of the z to the 5th and the z to the 4th, we can pull z to the 4th. And of course, as I told you, pull out the minus. So our greatest common factor is the opposite of 8z to the 4th. Put safety nets, which means multiplication. In the front part, we put a z, because negative 8, or opposite of 8z to the 4th times z would give me the front. But in the back, be very careful with the sign. You're not going to put a negative 3, you're going to put a positive 3. And that's because a negative times a positive would give you back the negative in the original problem. Okay, so this is the first part of section 5.3, and what we're trying to get you doing again is we're trying to remind you how to factor. Always start factoring by pulling out the greatest common factor.